Hey, happy 4th of July week. Freedom, that's what I was asked to talk to you about today. Talk about freedom in healthcare. So let's talk about freedom. Not many people know this, but when colonists first came over from Europe to the New World, back in the 1600s, started in the 1500s and then more in the 1600s, 1700s, one of the reasons they came over, there was lots of reasons. They came over for religious freedom. They came over for political freedom, freedom of the press, freedom from tyranny, freedom from taxes. But one of the reasons they first came over here was also for medical freedom. So if you think about it, back in the 1500s and the 1600s, healthcare was controlled by the church. And we were told back then, people were told, you have illnesses because you have been sinful. And we should purge your body to get rid of these illnesses. So they did things like bloodletting. They would actually bleed people to try to bleed out the humors of the body or the different reasons why you have sins, you're holding on to your sins. So this is actually what they believe killed George Washington. George Washington was bled to get rid of the sins, and because he had pneumonia. Well, he actually had pneumonia because he heard about, I think it was Thomas Jefferson winning, maybe it wasn't Thomas Jefferson, maybe it was John Adams winning the presidential election, and he sat down and he was talking to the messenger, and when he was out walking and it was snowing and he was wet, and he sat down and talked to the messenger and he was wet still, he didn't get changed right away, and they said from that he caught pneumonia, and he fought pneumonia for a while and eventually it killed him. But they were bleeding him to try to get rid of this sinful illness, and I think it was the bleeding that actually killed him. But back to freedom. They came here, a lot of people came here in healthcare because they didn't believe that all sins or all illnesses was from sins. They believed that there was remedies over here in this new world with new plants and new cultures that they could learn. And sure enough, that was true. For example, bloodroot. Bloodroot is a remedy for skin cancer. And when you put bloodroot on a lesion, the theory is that it is attracted to the higher metabolism cells, and it starts to attack the cells. And what it can do is, from what I've heard and what I've experienced personally, because I've done this, pull out a tumor by the roots for skin cancer. But in this country, that product has been banned. You have to order it from Canada online if you want to get it. So, you go, why are people dropping dead from bloodroot? Is that why it has to be banned? I mean, I've never heard of that, but I've heard a lot of people tell me, hey, I had skin cancer and it went away, and I'm one of them. So, it's just religious freedom is one freedom. Medical freedom is another freedom. And that is one of the reasons a lot of people came here. There was lots of remedies by the Native Americans, lots of ways to get people well. And like echinacea, golden root, I believe, or golden seal, I believe they are Native American remedies. So that is one of the reasons why people came over here. How different it is now. In the year 2019, we've had this whole monopoly come in, and it's no longer the church that does it. However, if you read a book called Assault on Medical Freedoms, that's one book. Another book I'm thinking of, the name's escaping me, but Malpractice and How to Raise a Healthy Child in Spite of Your Doctor. These books were written by people who believed in freedom, and the author of How to Raise a Healthy Child in Spite of Your Doctor, Robert Mendelsohn, who's a pediatrician, refers to the Holy Church of Medicine all throughout his books. The Holy Church of Medicine says this, and the Holy Church of Medicine says that. And he's referring back to the time when people came here for medical freedom. So you look at it and you go, a lot of our healthcare system is set up just like that. It's set up where people control it. And why do they control it? There's a lot of money in it. So when you talk about freedom, you're talking about getting out of control. People came over to this continent to learn medical freedoms, and here it is a few hundred years later, and it's all controlled again. You have the AMA. The AMA sets the standard for the standard of care in healthcare. And the AMA, we know now, is primarily funded by the American Pharmaceutical Advertising Council, and they get their funding from selling data to the American Pharmaceutical Advertising Council for marketing purposes so the drug companies can market to the doctors. That's one of the ways they get a lot of income. We know that there's very low enrollment in the American Medical Association. We know that in the year 2008, enrollment was around 8%. Since then, it has gone up. And the reason it's gone up is the AMA has been offering free enrollment to students and to retired doctors. I have a nephew who's in medical school, and he said they're offering them gift cards. And they're offering them gift cards to restaurants and gift cards to clothing stores like J. Crew and some of the other stores where you buy clothes, so that they can entice these people to join the AMA. And what he said was interesting is all of the professors at the medical school he's going to is saying, don't join the AMA, they're really the drug companies. So there's a still struggle that's going on for medical freedom. Do you have the right to practice medicine in a way that helps people get well? Our viewpoint is to shift people away from treating symptoms and towards treating function. That's what the disease timeline is all about. The disease timeline points out, and I'll show it for you right now. If you have a disease timeline, this is the day the disease starts, right? And then this is the timeline. This is the day the disease ends. And when I ask people what happens on that day, most people say you die. And I go, well, what about getting cured? This is the halfway point. I ask people, do you know the day the disease starts? And most people say no. And I ask them, well, what do you got to experience to know you have something wrong? A symptom. Okay, good. When does that first symptom usually show up? In the first half or the second half of the disease? Well, most doctors I speak to say the second half. And I go, well, what do you think the public thinks? And up until about 5 years ago, the public would always say the first half. They would think you get a disease, you get a symptom, and you know you got the disease, and then you treat it. Well, that's not the case anymore. Most people that I speak to now say it's the second half because they've been online reading and educating themselves. So I give two examples to prove my point that it's the second half, not the first half. Leading cause of death in the United States is heart disease. About 700,000 Americans die from heart disease every year. And the first symptom that half of those people, 350, experienced is usually the heart attack that killed them. So the first symptom shows up right here on the last day. The second example I give is cancer. And I usually ask people, if I'm in an audience setting, raise your hand if you knew somebody had cancer. And invariably, every hand in the room goes up. That alone is a crime. But when I ask them, I say, all right, since you all knew somebody had cancer, you're qualified to answer this question. Can you have tumors and not have a symptom? And the answer I always get is yes. When I ask for how long, the answer I always get is years. So that's all true. So we are lucky if the symptom shows up in the last 10% of the disease. This is our window of opportunity to treat the disease based on the healthcare system we've adopted or have been shoved down our throat in this country. You get the symptom, and then what do? We give them a drug for the symptom. Oh, you have high blood pressure. Here's a drug for high blood pressure. That's the standard of care. Oh, you have high cholesterol. Here's a drug for high cholesterol. That's the standard of care. Oh, you have pain. Here's a drug for pain. That's the standard of care. And we've gotten so caught up into this, we ended up with the most expensive healthcare system on the planet, and we're consistently ranked one of the worst healthcare outcomes on the planet. And there's lots of studies I could cite, one of them being Dr. Barbara Starfield, who published her article in the Journal of the American Medical Association in July of 2000, saying that the third leading cause of death in the United States is medical treatment in a hospital. But then there's other ones where we're ranked 39th out of how many countries in the world, less than 300, ranked 39th, and we're not even in the top 10, not even in the top 25, and our healthcare costs more than all the other countries on earth combined. So when we look at that, that's why we get such high costs and low outcomes, because we're treating symptoms. We're not treating the function. And if you start treating function, your body is designed to heal itself. It's supposed to heal itself. And if you catch a disease early on, if you see a symptom or experience a symptom and go, that's not normal. Why did I get that symptom? Oh, this is not working. Let me correct that. That's now addressing the function, which would make the symptom go away and stay away. But that doesn't sell a lot of drugs. If you want to sell opioids at $35 a pill, and prescribe people and know that 1 out of 3 people that take it are going to get addicted in 3 days, and they will be a lifetime customer. Although their life just got shorter, it's still good for business. And that's what we've done in this country, because we're treating symptoms, not treating the cause of the disease. What an integrated model does to give us back our medical freedom is to try to find the underlying cause of disease. Not all disease is caused by physical problems, but if you look, back problems, chronic degenerative arthritis, posture are some of the biggest ailments we suffer from. The vast majority of the population suffer from those conditions. And if we start addressing that, the physical ailment, most likely if you're trying to fix it, would require a physical remedy. So by giving a physical remedy, using physical medicine, and working with nurse practitioners, medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, all working together, trying to offer rehab, chiropractic care, injections, bracing, DMEs, whatever is necessary to get that person functional again, that's going to lower the cost of our health care. That's going to empower our patients to realize my body can heal itself if I give it what it needs, which gives that patient now freedom. They have more freedom to actually live their life instead of saying, oh, I have this condition that will never go away. I just must take medication for the rest of my life and not do certain things. That's a jail sentence. That's losing freedom. If we help you get this function back and you regain your life, that's gaining freedom. So I want to wish everybody out there a happy and healthy and safe 4th of July, and to reflect on the freedoms that we have in this country and enjoy, and reflect on the freedoms that we've lost in this country without even knowing it. By being ignorant and turning it over to the authorities, especially the ones who sell drugs, we are giving up our freedoms, and we now become a victim of our disease, and somebody else profits from it. So let's empower our nation, let's empower our societies around us to understand what medical freedom is, and that once you realize the body has the ability to heal and our job is to give it what it needs. I'm not saying get rid of healthcare. I'm not saying get rid of hospitals or get rid of medication or surgeons. We need them. But if we start focusing more on function, we won't need as much hospitals, we won't need as much medication, and we won't need as much surgeons, because people will be healthier and they'll know what to do for their body to enjoy their freedom. Happy 4th of July. This is Dr. Mike Carberry. Thanks for listening.